without even trying. There's just certain way that Black men walk. It's certain way that they talk. They have this bass in their voices that makes people listen to them. It's a certain way that they look. It's a certain way that they love. And it's unmatched. No one could match it. And because they can't compete, they've demonized it and labeled it toxic. And we've started to believe them. We've started to believe what other people have labeled our men. Just because they can't keep up, just because they can't compete with it. That's why they would always castrate our men, because it was just they just couldn't fathom, how is this like this? That narrative and that trope that Black men are these sexual deviants who couldn't keep their hands off of white women is because they felt insecure. They would see what our men was working with, and they was like, I'm not working with that. And my wife, she could see all that they got. So out of insecurity, they created this trope that Black men was these sexual deviants, these brutes that couldn't keep their hands off of white women, when we know that ain't the case. Even now to this day, it's the same thing that happened. These white women can't, they can't keep their eyes off our men. They just cannot wait till they catch one of them being a rapper or athlete or whatever to try to catch up with them. Anyway, the point I'm making is this. Our men have always had an unmatched masculinity. They have always been intimidated by our men and our men's masculinity. You feel me? Just the strength and just all of that. And our men have a hard time because our men be having to go into the workforce, go into jobs and stuff where these same like white men and men of other races, these other men talking to them all crazy and stuff. Like, we as Black women, we don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. Like, when I was in the workforce, when I worked as a mortgage specialist for Bank of America, when I was working for Wells Fargo, when I had all these jobs, no one was on some like, trying to belittle me or make me feel less of a woman. We don't even know what that's about. Ladies, I need y'all to hear that. That's why our men be coming from work so frustrated sometimes, because they've been at work all day, and this man that they know is less of a man than him has been bossing him around and trying to make him feel like less of a man. And they have to carry that on him. They have to deal with it. They have to put up with it because they want to make a living and they want to provide for their family. So they come home and they have all that on them. And we don't even know about this because we as Black women, we don't have to deal with that. We don't have to deal with that. So they come home from work, they might be upset. It's stuff that they deal with in silence, because we as Black women, we wouldn't understand it. We wouldn't understand that. We don't know what that feels like. When I was talking to the man that I'm currently dating, he was telling me all this, and that's nothing I ever had to deal with. I never even had to deal with none of that. They have their masculinity challenged on a regular basis because of the fact that it's unmatched, and other men be intimidated by it. Sisters that's on the live, please understand what our brothers be dealing with, especially ones that's working and they just want to have someone soft to deal with, to balance out the hell that they've been through all day and they have to continue to go through because they want to continue to protect and provide. Let us be mindful of that and understand that it's a lot that they deal with that we don't even understand. The most underrepresented, unheard group in America, and now just their being is being demonized for the sake of them existing the way that they exist, because other races of people can't match it or don't understand it. You feel me? And we as Black women, sometimes we have a hard time understanding it. So let's try to be more understanding. Let's encourage this kind of behavior. Let's stop calling stuff toxic masculinity when it's not that. If a man checks you, he not being misogynistic. It's not misogynoir, and it's not toxic masculinity. If a man tells you something that he likes, it's not him trying to control you. If he tell you something that he don't like, it's not him taking away your agency or whatever. It's none of that other kind of stuff. You feel me? Let's stop calling just regular relationship ups and downs. Let's stop calling that abuse. Let's stop calling that narcissism. Let's stop calling that toxic masculinity, because it's none of those things. Okay? And let's really try to get a better understanding of each other. Let's listen. Black men and women alike. Ladies, listen to these brothers. Men, listen to the sisters. You feel me? Sean Nisbet said, "Thank you very much." Thank you. I appreciate the super chat. Amina said, "Honestly, I felt at times that I had an advantage of being a female over black men, even though we're both black. I've seen the way I've been treated as a black woman as opposed to black men." Yeah, because at least, like, honestly, at least what we say, our issues get addressed. When black men start talking about their issues and what they've gone through, it gets dismissed. I saw a post, and a lot of black women were chiming in on this post. It was a post that said, black men ain't what they used to be anymore, or men in general aren't what they used to be. And they were all in the comments like, what happened to these smooth dressing, suave men who would just come up to a woman and, and like mac to her or whatever, he would do all this suave stuff, right? Like, there's like, we don't have men that do that kind of stuff anymore. And you know what? Those kind of men are dwindling away. We don't see that as much. Those real smooth brothers that just know that they got it and come up to you. You know why we don't see those kind of men? Because we've called them toxic. We've labeled those kind of men toxic, you know? Because any man that approaches a woman, if he approaches us and we don't actually like him or think he's attractive, now he's being thirsty. Now he's doing too much, or he's, being toxic or whatever the case may be. The only time it's okay is if the guy is attractive. If he's attractive, then it's okay that he's forward. It's okay that he's assertive and all this other kind of stuff. But everybody else is now too afraid to come up to a woman the way men used to do. They were all in the comments, what happened to the men that open your door and all this other kind of stuff? And they pulled a chair out for you. We said that we were empowered as women and we didn't want to be treated like the lesser sex. That's what we said. We said that. We said that we can get our own doors. We can do all these things ourselves. We want total equality with our men. As a man, how can you feel comfortable doing these things? Because you run the risk of seeming like a creep or thirsty or toxic. It's crazy. I was on a date and it was like a man was sitting next to me and he had his homeboy with him, right? And so, because it was like a group thing, it was somebody's birthday party or something. And so we were all out at this like little club lounge. Now, the guy that I was with, his homeboy, bought a girl a drink. He was like, whatever drink that she's getting, I'm paying for it, right? And her face was just like, like she just gave him like the most coldest shoulder and the dirtiest look. And I'm just like, and we complain that men don't approach us anymore, but when they do, we be hella mean. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like I'm not trying to be mean or nothing, but she was not the hottest thing walking for her to be acting. I mean, regardless if you are really attractive, being an asshole is not a good thing. You feel me? It's not a good thing. It doesn't mean that you have to accept his advances, but you don't have to be a total complete jerk to him if you're not interested. Amina says, at all, she said, this is where women go wrong. This is where femininity and even basic manners comes into play. You can respectfully decline a brother and still recognize his humanity. Facts. I was so upset that night when I was at the club or lounge with my friends. And I was like, she didn't have to do him like that, First of all, I felt like he could have done better. He was trying to pay for her drink. And I was like, like there's some other women in here that might be more on your level than this one. And she still wanted to act raggedy. When I remember I posted something on Twitter that said something about like how, black men, we need to protect them. And then somebody was like, oh, so you want to protect like this drug dealers and murderers? The fact that you read black men in your mind, word association, made you think up drug dealers, murderers, and rapists. We need masculinity in this world. And calling the phrase within itself, toxic masculinity, is toxic because it insinuates that there is something toxic about masculinity, which it's not. And it also gives another name to something that we already have names for. People being abusive, people being stalkers, people being manipulators and all that, those are all, we have names for that. Those names, those words do not need to be associated with masculinity because they have nothing to do with masculinity. You feel me? They just don't. So we don't like that word association is dangerous.